Welcome to Performance Upgrades. I'm your host, Dave Moss. The show is brought to you by SportBikeWrench.com. Performance parts and professional advice. We're back again with our Project GSX-R750, continuing to get it ready for the track. And today's show is all about how to replace the rear brake pads. We're doing that today with Galfer's 1300 series, which are the track and race pad, as obviously this bike is going to live in that environment the rest of its natural life. So we will show you what's involved in taking the caliper off, how to change the pads, and other tips in getting the job done. First task, use our Motion Pro T-handle. I'm going to go ahead, loosen our brake pad pin, break that loose, and then I'm going to essentially unthread it but leave it in position for now, like that. Next task is to go ahead and take both of our bolts out so then our brake caliper will be able to be removed from the holder itself. On this bike there are two different bolt sizes. Now that the bolts are out, go ahead and remove your brake pad pin. Very gently lift the caliper up and put it to the side. Now the beautiful thing is our pads are held in position here, so all we have to do is remove the pads and put the new ones in. But before we do that, make sure that your piston is clean. We went ahead and cleaned this, and then you need to retract the piston back because you're putting brand new pads on. Sometimes this is an extremely physical exercise and needs a lot of strength. There. So now the brake piston itself is only slightly proud of the caliper. Now when you pull the brake pads out, angle them out to work them out sideways and they'll fall right out of the retaining slots. Now these pads are the 1300 series, as we mentioned earlier in the show, which are double H's. That means they've got incredible initial bite. They withstand a huge amount of heat. They have very progressive feel and they work really well, especially on the progressive side where you're braking and looking for real pressure on the lever, which is great when all that comes together. Now we're ready to go ahead, bring the caliper over the top of the pads again. When you do that, there are some little rubber bushings here that need to be put back into position. So the other important part is make sure this piston's retracted all the way. Next, go ahead and insert the brake pin, making sure your pads are correctly in position. Take that all the way through until it sits, and with the brake pin, take it all the way to the end of the threads and just snug it up. And our Motion Pro T-handle makes short work of that. Next, go back, set your bolts, tighten them up, torque them to spec, torque our brake pin to spec, and then we're about finished. Now that we've got everything set correctly to torque specs as per book, you want to go ahead immediately before you do anything else. Pump your brake lever until you have solid pressure. Anytime that you change brake pads, it's always a good idea to clean your rotor. You can do it by sandblasting, you can use 600 grit emery cloth or a brake hone. It's always good to clean that surface up because you put in new pads. Also with new pads, there are very strict braking procedures, and with Galfer's 1300 series, you need to use them lightly at first for 5 minutes or so. Then we'll go out on the track, have a very light braking session, and then our third session, we'll go out and we'll hit the brakes hard to really make sure that the pads heat cycle in. As always, we thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Performance Upgrades.